Until just over 2 months ago, I had never gotten any result, single or average, in any event that was faster than the world record. Not a single one. But starting on April 19th, that started to change. In the 2 months and change since that point, I've gotten not one, not two, not three, but six 3x3 one-handed solves that are faster than the current world record single of 682, including the biggest, most massive jump, most crazy, absolutely insane PB that I have ever gotten. But we're going to save that one for last. In this video, we're going from slowest to fastest, showing you all 6 of my sub-world record 3x3 one-handed solves. Let's get started. So I start off this scramble on white cross, and I have a pretty simple goal. Solve my cross and preserve this pair. And there's a pretty nice way of doing that. I've got my edges here, here, and here. So 3 of them are in the top layer, and 1 of them is already on the right layer. So I'm going to start off by solving these 2 from this angle, just like this. So now I've got 3 of my cross edges solved. I've got this pair right here and this last edge to solve. Now, the way that I solve this edge is by doing D2, inserting it with wide R moves, and then I just need to do a D prime, but in order to avoid doing an awkward D prime finger trick and then having to cube rotate for this pair, I did it as a wide U prime, and that lets me go straight into my first pair. What I should have done is this pair right after that, but instead I did this one, which leads me very nicely to a pair like this, so I can Z rotate, solve it on the right side so it goes right here. As I start doing that, it connects this pair, so I can go straight into that afterwards, and I'm done with F2L. I can just cube rotate to right here, and look, I've got all my edges oriented, and I've got this big block that combined with the CP case means that this normal algorithm is going to skip PLL, and I recognized that that was going to happen. I did my ALG, did my AUF, and I was done. And so that's how I got the 677. It was 41 moves for the entire solution, and so doing that in 6.77 seconds gives me 6.05 turns per second. So that solve was just a nice cross with a free pair, pretty easy F2L, and a good OLL where I can predict a skip coming. It all sounds pretty simple, but the reconstruction can't get across the sheer amount of practice it takes to do a one-handed solve at 6 TPS the whole way through, or to optimize my solutions and moves all for one-handed. Let's move on to the next solve. This scramble ends up being a little bit more tricky. I end up doing a yellow cross because I've got this pair and I'm going to do my best to preserve it. Other than that, I've got these 2 already 1 move away on opposites, and these 2. So I ended up picking kind of a weird angle to execute this, but this is what worked best for me. I start out right here, so that to solve these 2, I can do U, R2, cube rotate up like this, and then in order to solve this, for the time being, I'm not worrying about this. It's all going to work out. So then to solve these 2, I do another D. Instead of doing L, it's wide R, so I can do another U, cube rotate back again, line up the cross, and line up this pair at the same time, and that's how I did my cross. And now I've got not quite as easy of a pair as it could have been, but still very easy, and it will let me lead immediately into this pair. Easy second pair, and now, here I'm in a very important position. I recognize very quickly I could either do that and get my edge orientation, Or I can do something else that'll give me a really cool free paired setup thing. So instead I cube rotate from the start, and now I'm done cube rotating. In order to solve this, I need to start off with R, U prime, R prime, and that will also connect this pair. Insert, insert, OLL. Look what we have here. We have fat soon, and it's going to skip PLL. And there we go, 668. That was a 40 move solution in all. So doing that in 6.68 seconds gives me a total TPS of 5.98. Any sort of soon variation is just as good for one-handed as it is with two hands, if not better. They're all really fast, they're 2-gen, it's really easy to recognize when they're going to skip, it's all really nice. And that, combined with how easy my last two pairs were, makes complete sense for how I got this solved, despite the beginning of it being so average. On this scramble, I need to work with my yellow cross. So I've got edge here, 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 and here. And so to start, I want to solve this behind green. That'll let me solve blue, and that'll move orange right here. It will also give me a pair I can do with keyhole here to start, which is kind of weird, not ideal, but you have to make it work sometimes. So I start right here, and in order to solve these, I do. And then I've got this blue right here, so I do wide R prime, D, wide R prime. When I'm done with my cross, here's my keyhole, so I do D, insert this edge, D prime, and here I've got a second pair. So I cube rotate, start doing my second pair, and here's a nice third pair. So I do that third pair, and look, I've got a nice free pair here, and at this point, I can tell this is going to skip OLL. I do my pair, and I got a last layer skip, and I just have to do U prime, and then the solve is done, and out of nowhere, that not so great F2L turns into a 647. So that entire solve was only 27 moves, and doing that in 6.47 seconds gives me 4.17 turns per second. That one stings a little bit to look at. Not only does it feel the least earned out of any of these solves, but it makes me think of all these what if questions. What if my turning had been a little bit better that day? That could have been my first ever one-handed sub-6 solve. Instead, it's only the 4th best solve in this video. But I can't dwell on that too much. On to number 3. This scramble gave me so much to work with, and I'm going to take advantage of all of it. For starters, I've got these two, already one move away on their opposites. I've got these two edges. I've got this block. I've got this free pair. I'm going to use absolutely all of it. So step 1 is building my X cross with this, and the edge is right here. I need to get this to right here and have it stay there. And I also need to get this this edge to be solved in a block with this in a way that keeps everything safe. So I'm going to start from this angle, and I'm going to start off by doing a U move, and that moves things over in a way that's going to be helpful for all of this. Now, I solve these two. I do wide R, and that moves my angle and solves this. R prime solves blue, moves my edge over. I solve this with wide R moves that take out this pair and connect everything into my big block. D2, U prime all at the same time. More wide R moves to insert this, and I've got an X cross and a free pair. So I cube rotate, start doing my free pair. Got a really easy third pair right after that. I go straight into that. This last pair is going to be really easy as well. I can go straight into that. And there we go. Look at this OLL, one of my favorites. And I know that when I do the alg, it's going to skip with no AUF. 6.38. So that entire solution was 38 moves. Doing that in 6.38 gives me 5.95 turns per second. This solve is why I love 3x3 one-handed. It is so satisfying to come up with solutions that minimize your move count, maximize your ergonomics, adapt your finger tricks, and adapt the moves you're doing to make your finger tricks work better, and put it all together into one to make one beautiful solve. If any of that looked or sounded appealing to you, please start learning how to solve one-handed. This scramble was really nice on both white and yellow, but I ended up deciding to do yellow. I've got this edge that's already solved, this edge that's one move away, and then these two. And I've also got a block here that I can use with this edge to make a really nice X cross. And I do that by starting right here, and I'm going to start by solving these two. That lines up this perfectly to connect into this block. So I just do U prime after cube rotating the right way, another R2, and I've got my X cross. Now here, I did something really, really stupid. So I've got this as my second pair, right? First of all, I ignored this free pair. Second, when doing this second pair, instead of doing that and then cube rotating and inserting, which would have also set this up as a free pair, I decided to cube rotate first, then do it all on the left side like that, and then I have to cube rotate back and then finish off. That was really whack. I don't know why I did that. But then I keep going with this pair, and that gives me a free pair, so I cube rotate, insert, and then all the alarms start going off. We've got soon. The CP's correct. I've got this block. These are opposite colors. This is going to skip PLL. So I do my soon, do my U move, and all of a sudden I'm done. 33 move solution, 6.15 seconds. Absolutely nuts. That gives me 5.36 turns per second. If getting really lucky F2L and then a soon PLL skip is a crime, then I guess it's time for me to see the jury. That X cross at the beginning was really nice, but then that second pair was really atrocious, and everything after that just saved me from all of that. It doesn't feel like a demonstration of skill quite as much. It feels more like being in the right place at the right time. But then again, you could say the same thing about every single solve in this video. All of them had ridiculously low move counts, and all of them either had an easy OLL into a PLL skip or even a last layer skip. But I am very proud to say that the fastest solve in this video was also the most earned. It had the longest move count, it was the fastest time, and it had by far the fastest TPS. So not only is this the fastest solve I've ever done, it's also the best solve I've ever done, undisputed. So without further ado, here it is, the best solve I have ever done, my 604 one-handed PB single. Here is the really big one. This is the 604. So I've got my white cross, this is already solved, and these three are all set up very nicely. The other important thing is this block and this edge. So when I do this, I'm going to ignore this, solve everything around it, and it's going to solve this, preserve the block, it's going to give me an X cross. Now, I also know when I'm done with that, so when I'm done with all that, this edge is still going to be up here. I'm going to have this corner is going to be right here, but white's going to be up. This edge is going to be right here. And you'll see what that lets me do. So I start right here, and in order to solve all of this, I do U, do wide R, then R prime. That solves my two edges right here, and this, D, and just like I predicted, they're right here. And instead of doing R to solve that, and then R prime to go into this pair. I just do U and go straight into doing my triple sexy in the back. Now I've got two really nice pairs. I cube rotate, start off with this one, immediately go into this, and look, here we go. We've got a pretty nice OLL. I know from experience, these two colors matching and these two being opposites means that I'm going to get all my corners permuted correctly. So I do the soon to start. I see this, matching colors here, very good sign. Especially with this. PLL skip, no AUF. I am done, blazing fast, 604. Absolutely incredible. My PB before this was 697 that I got all the way back in March 2020. That's over 2 years ago. A jump of over 0.9, absolutely massive at my level, all on this one solve. It was a 43 move solution, and doing that in 6.04 seconds gives me 7.11 turns per second for this one-handed solve. This solve is everything I know about 3x3 one-handed all put together. It's about taking a scramble and finding the perfect combination of easy finger tricks and good efficiency in order to save time. It's about saving moves wherever you can because every fraction of a second counts. It's about reducing your turning to R and U moves as much as possible so you can turn as fast as possible, but still being able to do things like F moves in order to execute your algorithms quickly. Yes, it helps to get lucky, but you need so much skill to take advantage of all the luck that's at place there. And I took full advantage of it here. 43 moves, 7.11 turns per second. That is undeniably the best solve of my life. Along with that being the best solve I've ever done, I think this is one of the best videos I've ever done, or at least one of my favorites. And that's because I get to talk about an event that I love that I think a lot of people overlook or are even afraid to try. I think far too many people see one-handed as just 3x3 but harder for no reason. But they're so much more different than that. For starters, the optimal method for one-handed is different than it is for regular 3x3. But even with that aside, one-handed CFOP and two-handed CFOP are so different, and the beauty in one-handed solving comes through those differences. And I think I really got to show that in this video, along with maybe a few other videos I've made on this channel. So I really hope that at least some of you will see this video and think, that sounds really cool, and start trying to learn how to do one-handed solving. That's what I really hope is going to happen here. And if you want to do that, I've got like a beginner one-handed turning tutorial. I'll link that in the card, in the description, in the end card. I really hope this inspires you. And I hope you can see how excited I'm getting over talking about this kind of thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I'll see you guys later with more one-handed stuff and with everything else. And I hope you have a great day. This is Brody, signing out.